When the Ice Age tightened its grip on the Earth, most of the planet became unrecognizable, vast glaciers swallowing continents, temperatures plunging below anything modern humans could endure without technology. Survival wasn't just about intelligence, it was about biology, adaptation, and endurance. 7 different kinds of humans once walked the Earth. Some were built for warmth, others for speed or cunning. But when the world froze, only the hardiest could call the cold their home. Nearly 2 million years ago, Homo erectus stepped out of Africa and into the unknown, the first of our kind to challenge the horizon. They crossed grasslands, deserts, and mountains, following herds and seasons, driven by something deeper than hunger, curiosity perhaps, or restlessness written into their bones. When they reached the lands of Central Asia and northern China, the air itself had teeth. Winters were long, the wind sharp enough to carve through skin. Their bodies, built for the sun, long limbs, narrow frames, sweat-cooled endurance, were suddenly foreign here. They had no fur, no insulating fat, no natural armor against the cold. But Homo erectus had something else, a spark. At Zhoukoudian in northern China, archaeologists unearthed layers of charred bone and blackened wood, ashes that whispered of campfires burning through endless nights. This was more than warmth, it was a revolution. Where nature refused to protect them, they learned to create protection themselves. Around the glow of those ancient fires, they cooked food, warded off predators, and forged the first true bond between human and flame. Fire became their second skin, not something they wore, but something they carried, a light they could summon at will. And in that fragile, flickering glow, Homo erectus transformed from a creature of the tropics into the first true master of adaptation, a wanderer who dared to bring warmth into the cold. If winter ever sculpted its own kind of human, it was the Neanderthal, stocky, powerful, and built for endurance. They were nature's answer to a frozen world. Thick bones anchored dense muscle, barrel chests protected lungs that drew in frigid air, short limbs reduced heat loss. Even their wide noses served a purpose, warming each breath before it touched the heart. For more than 300,000 years, they ruled Ice Age Europe. Across wind-blasted tundra, they hunted mammoths and woolly rhinoceroses with spears of stone and courage. They stitched animal hides with bone needles, built shelters from wood and snow, and carved tools that fit perfectly in their powerful hands. They thrived in a land that would kill a modern human within hours. Their world was harsh, but it was theirs, a place of glowing hearths and quiet strength. They were not primitive brutes, but masters of adaptation, tuned perfectly to the rhythm of cold and survival. And when the climate began to warm, their mastery became their curse. The ice that once defined them retreated, and with it, the world they understood. Neanderthals didn't fall because they were weak. They vanished because the world they conquered disappeared beneath their feet. High in the icy plateaus of Siberia and Tibet, where the air thins and the stars feel close enough to touch, another kind of human once walked the Denisovans. We never found their faces, only fragments, a finger bone, a tooth, traces of DNA hidden deep in the earth. Yet from those tiny remains, a vast story unfolds. They lived where no one else dared in altitudes so extreme that breathing itself was a daily test of survival. Nights could drop far below freezing, and even fire struggled against the wind. But the Denisovans didn't merely endure those heights, they mastered them. Their blood carried a rare mutation, the EPAS1 gene, allowing their bodies to capture oxygen with uncanny efficiency. Modern Tibetans still carry that same gift, an inheritance from long-forgotten ancestors who called the sky their home. It's one of evolution's quiet miracles. Though their bones have vanished, their breath still moves within us. The Denisovans were not just mountain dwellers, they were the summit of adaptation itself, the only humans truly built for both cold and thin air. They were ghosts of altitude, and yet, In our blood, they never truly left. We were never meant for the cold. Our ancestors came from the burning equatorial plains of Africa, long-limbed, sweat-cooled, born to chase under the sun. Yet somehow, we ended up walking through blizzards, sleeping beneath northern skies, and claiming the Arctic as our own. We didn't evolve fur or thick skin. We evolved ideas. When the wind bit harder, we built shelters of bone and hide. When the frost tore at our fingers, we stitched clothes with needles carved from ivory. When night refused to end, we created hearths glowing, islands of warmth that kept the dark at bay. Our survival was never written in muscle or bone, but in imagination. Where Neanderthals relied on strength, Homo sapiens relied on story, on memory, teaching, and the passing of knowledge from one generation to the next. We learned to plan, to cooperate, to turn the impossible into the ordinary. In the face of ice, we did what no species had done before. We refused to accept the limits of evolution. When nature wouldn't give us the tools to survive, we invented them. And that moment, the moment we cheated the cold, was when we truly became human. While ice ruled the north, far away in the tropics lived smaller, quieter branches of humanity. Homo floresiensis, Homo naledi, and Homo luzonensis. They were isolated on islands and deep within caves, sheltered from the world's great freeze. Their bodies were small, their tools simple, their lives shaped by forests, not frost. They hunted birds and reptiles, gathered fruits, and lived close to the earth, untouched by the brutal lessons of ice and scarcity. In those warm refuges, evolution was kind but unchallenging. They never had to build fires against the dark or craft furs against the wind. Their world demanded little, and in return offered little chance to grow stronger. When the climate shifted, when seas rose and forests vanished, their time quietly ended. No grand extinction, no catastrophe, just silence. Yet their story matters, because in contrast, the cold sculpted the future. It punished the unprepared and rewarded the inventive, shaping minds that could imagine, adapt, and endure. The Ice Age was both executioner and mentor, a force that erased some humans while refining others into something new. And from that crucible of frost, the survivors carried forward the greatest gift evolution ever gave: the will to change, to outthink extinction itself. Today, humanity spans the planet from the blazing equator to the frozen edge of Antarctica. We've built cities where no animal should survive, and yet we do effortlessly, instinctively. Hidden beneath our skin are ancient blueprints of endurance, drawn long before history began. The Inuit of the Arctic, the reindeer-herding Sami of Scandinavia, the tribes of Siberia, all carry whispers of that prehistoric struggle. Their bodies burn fat differently, their blood runs warmer, their hearts beat steady in temperatures that would stop most of us cold. Inside their DNA, and ours, lie echoes of those who faced the Ice Age and won. Some of those genes came from Neanderthals, the endurance masters of the frozen plains. Others came from Denisovans, the mountain ghosts who conquered thin air and brutal nights. And though their faces are gone, their strength still breathes within us, shaping how we shiver, how we warm, how we survive. So who, in the end, survived the cold best? The Neanderthal endured it. The Denisovan adapted to it, but we Homo sapiens outsmarted it. That spark of mind, that refusal to surrender, became our truest fire. And perhaps that more than muscle, more than bone, is the greatest warmth evolution ever gave us. The fire of thought, still burning bright against the cold.